With Survivor Series celebrating its 29th edition, we thought it was appropriate to list all the wrestlers who were scheduled to appear on the show but didn't for various reasons. In some cases it was for storyline purposes, while in others it was real life events that saw a wrestler get pulled from the card, sometimes explained as a storyline, other times not. Sit back and take a trip down memory lane as we examine pretty much every single Survivor Series substitution from 1987 to 2015. Let's start off with the granddaddy of them all, Survivor Series 1987. As you may know, the first Survivor Series was Vince McMahon's way of raising his middle finger at Jim Crockett Promotions by staging a pay-per-view the same day as Crockett's big show. McMahon turned the heat up further when he told pay-per-view providers they need not make Crockett's show available if they wanted to order the next WrestleMania. Given the phenomenal success of WrestleMania 3, the pay-per-view companies caved in faster than the Buffalo Bills at a Super Bowl, making the first Survivor Series a big hit. The inaugural show was supposed to feature superstar Billy Graham alongside Hulk Hogan and his team, but Graham's real-life hip and ankle problems led to early retirement. The WWE ran an injury angle where Graham was put out of wrestling by the one-man gang. Don Morocco would take Graham's place, with Graham managing Morocco. At the second annual Survivor Series, this year saw 3 departures and 2 substitutions. Wait, did we get our math right? 1988's show saw Don Morocco replaced by Jim Brunzell on the Ultimate Warrior's team. The Junkyard Dog was scheduled for Jake the Snake Roberts' team, but like Morocco, JYD had left the WWF, forcing a substitution. In this case, JYD substitute Brian B. Blair also left the WWF, forcing the Fed to put Scott Casey in his place. Who is Scott Casey? I haven't got a f***ing clue. 1989's edition of Survivor Series was another year of replacements, as Akeem the African Dream was replaced by Bad News Brown for the Big Boss Man's team. The substitutions continued with the Earthquake replacing the Widowmaker, aka Barry Windham, on Macho King Randy Savage's team, and manager Bobby the Brain Heenan filling in for his wrestler Tully Blanchard. Blanchard allegedly failed a drug test and was sent packing by the WWF. Blanchard's drug test fiasco cost him a chance to return to WCW as part of the Four Horsemen, making this a double whammy. Survivor Series 1990 is mostly remembered for The Undertaker's jaw-dropping debut, but other than that, Ravishing Rick Rude was replaced by Haku on Earthquake's team. Rude was written out as part of a storyline suspension by WWF President Jack Tunney for insulting the boss man's mother. In reality, Rude had left the WWF after a dispute. Akeem had also left the WWF, leading him to be replaced by Boris Zukov on Sergeant Slaughter's team, the Mercenaries. Ironically enough, Zukov had actually teamed with Slaughter a few years earlier in JCP as Slaughter's trainee Marine, Private Jim Nelson. The 5th Survivor Series should have been called the Substitution Series, as there were a whole host of replacements. First, Sergeant Slaughter replaced Jim the Anvil Neidhart on Hacksaw Jim Duggan's team. Neidhart had been put out of action due to a storyline injury at the hands of Nature Boy Ric Flair and the Beverly Brothers. El Matador Tito Santana had also helped Duggan when he replaced Ricky the Dragon Steamboat after Steamboat's departure from the WWF. Hercules took over for Big Bully Busick, who'd also left the Fed. Wrestler Skinner, better known as Steve Kern, replaced the Barbarian, appearing with the Berserker, Colonel Mustafa, and Hercules. There was an 8-man tag team match scheduled between Sid Justice, the Legion of Doom, and the Big Boss Man against the team of Jake the Snake Roberts, Arwin R. Shyster, and the Natural Disasters. After Sid Justice's real-life bicep injury, the match was changed into a 6-man bout between the Big Boss Man and LOD against IRS and the Natural Disasters. Survivor Series 1992 saw just one traditional Survivor Series match on the card. That 8-man tag saw the Nasty Boys replace the Bushwhackers. A tag match between the Ultimate Warrior and Randy Savage against Razor Ramon and Ric Flair was changed to Mr. Perfect and Randy Savage versus Ramon and Flair after the Warrior and the WWF parted ways. Rumor has it that the British Bulldog was also supposed to defend the Intercontinental Championship against the Mountie that night, but Bulldog was let go, leading to Shawn Michaels going in Survivor Series as the IC champ. Michaels would face WWF champion Bret Hart that night in an unsuccessful bid for Hart's title. 1993 Survivor Series had some big substitutions. As we've covered elsewhere, Jerry the King Lawler got in some hot water when a teenage girl accused him of rape. This led to Lawler being replaced on his team by Shawn Michaels. There were other substitutions as well though. The Undertaker took over for Tatanka, who had been laid out in a kayfabe assault by Yokozuna and Ludwig Borga, whilst Crush replaced Quebecer Pierre on Yokozuna's Foreign Fanatics team after Lex Luger clobbered Pierre in a match on Monday Night Raw. If you're wondering why American wrestler Crush was on a foreign team, let us refresh your memory. Crush had turned heel on Macho Man Randy Savage and turned his back on America. Speaking of the Macho Man Randy Savage, he replaced Mr. Perfect on Razor Ramon's team. Sadly, no one replaced any of the 4 doinks on that team. Consisting of the Bushwhackers and Men on a Mission, this quartet's match against Bam Bam Bigelow, Bastion Booger and the Head Shrinkers was panned by the fans. After 7 years of Survivor Series substitutions, the WWF featured no substitutions at the Survivor Series in 1994. 1995 Survivor Series, however, had featured a few substitutions, one being the 1-2-3 Kid filling in for Jean-Pierre Lafitte on the Body Donners team, as Lafitte was sidelined due to a hernia operation. Bob Holly, doing his best to deal with his Sparkplug Holly gimmick, filled in for Avatar on the Underdogs team. In 1996's edition of Survivor Series, after signing a 10-year contract with the WWF, rookie wrestler Mark Henry was sidelined by one of his many injuries to come during his career, leading to veteran Jake the Snake Roberts replaced. The following year, the Patriot was scheduled to work on Team USA alongside Vader, Goldust and Mark Merrow. Unfortunately, a triceps injury prevented him from competing and Steve Blackman took his place. Other than that, nothing else interesting happened at all. For the first time in Survivor Series history, the 1998 edition of Survivor Series saw the WWF Championship decided in a tournament. Here, Triple H was unable to compete in the tournament and was replaced by the Big Boss Man. The Boss Man didn't fare too well, losing to The Rock in just 4 seconds. The exciting title tournament culminated in a swerve when The Rock turned heel, winning the WWF Championship and joining forces with Mr. McMahon as the corporate champion. Well guys, I'm going to leave it there for part 1 of the Survivor Series substitutions. Be sure to check out part which will feature years 1999 to 2015. And I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.